Now it's time for my take. There's a whole hell of a lot of unhinged panic going on around the world off the back of Donald Trump's tariff announcements this week. Shock and horror has been expressed globally, anger too. And look, I get it, this will impact millions of people. But what I can't comprehend nor sympathise with is the fact that any world leader is surprised. Donald Trump is not exactly backwards in going forwards. He's not what you'd describe as subtle. What I'm trying to say is if a nation hasn't anticipated and planned, even well before the election, then they have failed their people, not Donald Trump. The entire premise of his campaign was America first. And yes, Americans will feel the brunt in some ways, but overall they will as a nation benefit, incredibly so. The correction will come and the shift back to homemade will be significant. The stock market will recover and the working class will boom. That's the point. The US president has also had immense success with tariffs already. Look at Mexico and Canada. They are a very powerful bargaining chip. Trump's perspective on doing the vast amount of heavy lifting in any relationship is well known. He hates it, passionately, and has been very vocal about it. Yes, many countries have been lulled into a false sense of security, but that's no excuse to have allowed yourselves to be completely reliant on another nation. This wake-up call has been a long time coming.
Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country, and you see it happening already. We will supercharge our domestic industrial base. We will pry open foreign markets and break down foreign trade barriers. And ultimately, more production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers. This will be indeed the golden age of America. It's coming back.
And as far as appropriate responses from world leaders go, well, each to their own. But a suggestion, if you'll indulge me. Verbal barrages and petulant outbursts won't work. Not with this US president. Now, I'm not saying be weak and just roll over and take it. He won't respect that either. But be smart. Be reasonable. Come to the table with something good. He's the king of the deal. Make him one he can't refuse. The days of sucking off the American teat are done. Now, this is particularly true if you are an adversary. The economy and national security are joined at the hip. We know that. The global reliance on China, who have made no secret of their desire to overturn the world order, is bad news. Trump knows this. Without being over the top, if the CCP wages war on Taiwan and the West is dragged in, the US can't exactly expect them to supply us with the stuff we need to defeat them. This is not being silly or alarmist. It's just, well, true. The emergence of a very powerful and motivated China is the biggest foreign threat the US faces. Trump was one of the first to identify this sleeping giant. As Mark Levin said on X this week, in part, my great concern is that China will invade Taiwan, which would create a very, very serious set of problems for our country. They are creating bases throughout the world, from the Arctic Circle to our hemisphere, including the Panama Canal, Western Africa to the South China Sea. He's dead right. War in Europe and the Middle East has taken the focus off, arguably, a much bigger problem, one that hasn't escaped Trump's Secretary of State, Mark Rubio, who is, thankfully, brilliant in this space. The Democrats may bitch and moan, but the internet does not forget. Nancy Pelosi herself, back in 1996, was critical of the trade deficit with China. Oh, and nearly 30 years later, it's almost 10 times as big. On X, Mays shared this incredible clip.
How far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit and loss of jobs for the American worker? And how much more dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? As I mentioned, it's about jobs, proliferation, and human rights. And there are those who say we shouldn't link human rights and trade and proliferation and trade. I disagree. But if we just want to take up this issue on the basis of economics alone, indeed, China should not receive most favored nation status.
So once the panic ensues and the talks begin and the calibration occurs, all will be well in the world again. As long as lessons are learnt. The more we, each individual nation, make ourselves, the safer we will all be. America needs to be at the forefront of that for all of our sakes, not just theirs. These tariffs will lessen the US reliance on foreign supply chains and prioritise national security at the same time. And until other nation states can handle every existing and emerging global threat on their own, without American help, this is a win-win, despite a bit of short-term discomfort.